Hello friends, thank you for watching this brief video. The purpose of this video is to show you how to access and take the take-home quiz and then make necessary revisions and then submit your work. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you've gone through the take-home quiz checklist. Let me show you where you can locate that. When you're in WAMAP, in the brown folder, there's a file called take-home quiz checklist. If you click on this, it will bring up a page that gives you a checklist that details the steps that you should walk through when you're actually taking the take-home quiz. I'm pretty much going to be following these steps, but I strongly encourage you when you do the first take-home quiz to print this take-home quiz checklist or have it very nearby so you can quite literally go through and check off each parts. So to start the quiz, what you'll do is you'll go to the purple folder and then you'll click on the actual quiz that you're going to take. For this demonstration purposes, we're going to use take-home quiz 0. The nice part about this quiz is I can promise that at least one of the questions that's going to appear in this practice demonstration quiz will actually be a quiz that appears in one of the upcoming quizzes. So the first step is to click on the link, and it'll always sort of get a brief description of what to expect. In some cases, it will ask for a password. This quiz does have a password. I'll provide the password for the take-home quiz 0 at the end of this video. So again, I'm going to enter the password, and then I'll click the start button. And then you should see a pop-up window warning you about the time limit. Read this carefully and only click start when you are actually indeed ready to start. The timer does not start until you do so. I'm going to go ahead and start this, and now I have access to the actual quiz. The first thing I'll draw your attention to is that you can actually, it shows one question at a time, but you actually can move around to the different questions and do them in any order that you prefer. Okay, so notice the submit and the end button at the top, and so we have the submit and end button here up at the top, and the next question button at the end of the actual question itself. Okay. When you finish a question, click the next question button, and when you are finished with the entire test, click the submit and end button. So this button, once we answer the first question, will then take us to the next question, and it will actually record the answer that we've saved here. So did you watch the demonstration video before this practice quiz? Yes. All right. Next question. Again, if you're following the take-home quiz checklist, then you'll want to click the printer icon for a printer-ready version. So that's the printer icon up here. If you click this, it will prepare for you a print-ready version. Now, this provides all the questions that are actually on the quiz, and you can go ahead and print this. If you click the print button on a Mac, I'll just open this in a preview. So if I click here, I can click print. So I can go ahead and print this to a printer. I have a hard copy, but in the Mac version, I can actually save this or open as a PDF. And I would generally just save it as a PDF to my machine so I could reference it. If I did open it as a PDF, I then have the advantage. So I'm going to click this button. It won't actually show you as it opens because the screen is only sharing the WAMAP page. But I'll show you here what popped up. So this is what popped up in preview. And then this allows me to sort of take notes, and actually I'm going to sort of make annotations on this as we go along. Now, what I have here on the screen is I've gone back to the actual quiz, and I did this so when I was actually in the print version, I just simply needed to close the tab in the browser window with the print preview, or just navigate back to the actual quiz. So what I currently have up on the screen now is the print version. I have the take-home quiz checklist, and then I actually have the actual quiz itself. When you're taking the quizzes, those really are the only three things that you should have up and working on at any point when you're taking a test, for this course at least. Okay, what I'm going to do now is what you would do, which is to work through the problems and recording your work as you go. You will notice that some questions don't actually require you to record any work. All right, so the first question says, below you'll find a stem and leaf plot. Add the following data points to the display. So we go ahead and it would enter the values. We have 9, 1 pound sign, 9, 1 pound sign, and we have these values. So we would use the last values, 0, 2, 4, 5, and then the value 7 would go to the last. And as you're working, sometimes you realize, oh, wait a minute, no. Everything that should appear in this first row would actually be the leaves 0 through 4, and then 5 through 9 would actually be here. So the 5 should actually be in the second of these rows, not the first of the rows. Okay. Then it says reconstruct the data points from the first class, use comma to separate the values. So I see that there's an 8, 9, 6, comma, there's the 2 8, 9, 7s, and then last but not least, there's the 8, 9, 8. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and click the next button. and I'll notice that my work has been saved. What can you do with nominal data that you cannot do with ordinal data? Find the difference between values. That's not possible because nominal and ordinal data are categorical. They're not numeric, so there's no way to find a difference. You can reorder the categories. So that is something I can do with nominal data that I can't do with ordinal data. So I think that's the answer, but let's walk through the rest. Sort the data in an objective order. No, that's something I can do with ordinal data that I can't do with nominal data. I can make a frequency distribution table. Actually, that's something that I can do with both nominal and ordinal data, so that doesn't count. So I'm pretty sure the answer here is reorder the categories. You have collected data from a survey using a Likert response scale, which is the strongly disagree to disagree scale. Okay. The resulting data is an example of which level of measurement. Well, again, these are categories that I don't really know the distance between strongly disagree and disagree, or between agree and strongly agree. That's best described as an ordinal scale. And click the last next button. And the first thing I'll draw your attention to here, this is the last question on the quiz. And as a consequence, there is no next button. So as I enter my answers, they will be recording, but it's not until I actually click the submit and end that it will save the results. All right, you're preparing a GFDT for a set of exam scores, a grouped frequency distribution table for a set of exam scores. The maximum score is 95.8 and the minimum score is 17.2. Okay, this sounds like I'm gonna actually need to do some work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up an Excel sheet. All right, so I've brought up an Excel sheet that I can work on here because I need to actually keep track of my work for a problem like this. Anytime you're doing a problem that requires you to show work, you do indeed need to show the work. If you're working this out on paper, that's perfectly fine. You can just take a photo or scan that once you're done and submit that to Blackboard. But if you're comfortable using something, typing it out in Word or something like this in Excel, you can do that as well. Just do what's most time efficient for you because you are indeed working under a time limit. All right, so I'm going to read through the problem here. It says the maximum score is 95.8, so I'll record that. The minimum score is 17.2, and because of the way partial credit was assigned, the discrete unit for these scores is 0.2. So the discrete unit is 0.2. First, calculate the span of the range as defined in class. So again, the span of the range was the span of the range is just the maximum value, which is 95.8 minus 17.2 plus the discrete value, which is 0.2. All right, so I have this worked out here and I save it. Now, the one nice thing about Excel is I've typed in my work. So if we actually do need to go back and check your work, we can always, if you submit this Excel sheet, we can actually go back and actually review the formulas that you've entered there. So you don't need to worry about actually writing this out if you've actually done it in Excel. The work is essentially shown there. All right, so 78.8. So I'll go ahead and put that in. Okay, it says enter an integer or decimal number accurate to at least 2 decimal places, but I think my value was 78.8, so that's 1 decimal place, so it should be fine. Okay. Second, if your target number of classes is about 10, what would be a good class width for this GFDT? So if we divide 78.8 by 10, so we want about 10 classes, so I'll divide this value, 78.8 divided by 10 gives me 7.88. So I would round to a nice number is 8. Okay, that seems okay. So briefly justify your choice for a class width. So, well, if we're rounding to 8, the idea of it being, the nice reason for a class width is that it should be a nice number. And nice in this case means that we can count by the values quickly. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure 8 actually is a good choice because if I'm starting around the 90s and trying to count by 8s, that could be a little tricky. I'm gonna make my life easier. I'm just gonna go by 10. So 10 is a nice number by which we can count quickly. Okay, so I think that's a reasonable explanation. Now, so I can save my work, but more importantly, in fact, actually, because I sort of had a little delay, I didn't click the save button. It just automatically did it, and it does periodically do that. One thing to notice, it is telling me how long we've actually been in the test, and how much time remains. And at this point, I think I'm ready. I can always go back and review the questions if I need to, but it looks like I've finished everything. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit and end. So we can save work or go back to other questions, and we can submit and end, and that's what I'm actually going to do, submit and end. Now, a pop-up window telling you that you can't change answers after you submit should appear. If you are ready, go ahead and click the OK button, else cancel and continue making changes on the take-home quiz. Now, the nice part about this is once you do this, WAMAP will show you your performance, and it will give you the option to review your answers. So I click OK, and it says, okay, here's the results. So according to this, I actually did okay on questions 1, 3, and 4. It looks like I made a mistake on question 2 and maybe a mistake on question 5. So let's go ahead and review those. So on question 2, what I see is that I have the information here, and it says that I actually made a mistake listing out the values. And I realized looking at this right away, what I did, I have the values 896 recorded. I have one of the 2 897s recorded, and I have the 898. So what I did is I appear to have missed those 2 897s. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to my Excel sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and make notes of this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring back my Excel sheet. All right, so here's my Excel sheet. So what I'm going to do, this was the work for the last problem. So I'm going to go ahead and move this down and actually make a note for this. So I'm going to say this is the work for question number 5. Okay, so I want to make that clearly delineated. And down here I'm going to do, this is my revision work, revised work for question number 2. So the clearer it is that in your work that you submit, the easier it will be for the graders to go through and actually mark your stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a quick note that my error in third part was forgetting to list one number twice. The correct answer should be 896, 897 twice, and then 898. So that's the correct answer. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and corrected my work here. I can't make any changes on WAMAP, but I can correct it here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move back to WAMAP now. And if I scroll down a little bit, I see that the last question, the only part in the last question is it says my first 2 parts were correct, but it actually didn't give me any points for the manually graded part, and that actually makes sense. All right, so I was in the review questions tab, so I can go back to the score list tab. Okay, so WAMAP will show you your performance. You can make the changes. If you have incorrect answers, click the review questions. Green means it's all good. Red means it was wrong. Yellow, I believe it was red was wrong. So in this case, mine was yellow because it was partially correct. And that's a clue as well. So when you're looking in the review tab, you're looking for the yellow and the red values. And we notice down here, there's no shading on this. This is gray, which means that I can't change anything on that anyways because it was an open-ended question. If you do not see the answers that you entered here, please note this clearly in your submitted work. It is really rare that sometimes a WAMAP doesn't record the answers because it will usually warn you in advance. But if that's the case, go ahead and let us know. Now, when you submit your work, if it comes up and says that you have blank questions and you go back and walk through your questions and you can't find any blank questions, go ahead, submit your work and give us a heads up that you saw that message. More likely than not, it was just WAMAP getting confused about something, thinking that a blank spot that may have actually purposefully been blank was being flagged or something along those lines. Again, clearly make your edits to your work that you're going to submit and try to provide a rationale for the wrong answers if possible. And clearly indicate where your new and your final work is. So for example, if you just made a typo, if you entered the value 13 when you meant to type 31, just go ahead and say that. WAMAP will of course mark it wrong, but when we go back and grade it, we'll be able to give you back more of the points hopefully. Okay, all right, so now that I'm done with a WAMAP, I can actually go ahead and exit. There's nothing more I can do with this. So if I exit, it will actually just take me out of the quiz. And then the next thing that I need to do now is I need to go back to my Excel sheet, save my Excel sheet, and upload my Excel sheet to Blackboard. So I'm going to show that next. Okay, so what I have here is I've gone ahead and saved my Excel sheet, and this will satisfy my work. This will count as my work. And again, you're welcome to take pictures of the work that you've done. Just make sure the resolution is clear, but that you can keep file sizes as small as possible. The one thing that we request is that if you can actually knit them all together into one document, that'll make it much, much easier for us to go through and actually do the grading as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually in the student preview mode in Blackboard right now, so there might be limitations to this. But once I finish my take-home quiz on WAMAP, I'll go to assignments on Blackboard. And I have the THQ0 work, so I'll go ahead and click this. and it essentially asks me to either do a text submission. I don't really want to do this because the work that I have in Excel is probably going to copy weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and attach the file from the computer. So if I go to my files, take-home quiz demo is where I saved it. That's the file that I want. I'm going to go ahead and click open, and that should upload the file. Add comments. Generally speaking, it's not easy for us to see these, so you're welcome to put something in here, but it is very likely that we as graders will miss it. So if there's something really important to let us know about it, it's probably better to email us directly. You can always type it in the comments and then send us an email saying, hey, please definitely look at the comments. But again, generally we have a tendency to miss these values. So I'll go ahead and click submit. I think this is going to get upset at me because I think it says your submission appears on this page. So it's showing up here. And once you have that, that's all set. Now, I don't think this is actually showing up because I'm in the student view. So I'm not 100% certain this is exactly what you see, but I think it's very close. All right, so the last thing that I need to share with you now is I need to give you the password so that you can take the practice take-home quiz number 0 yourself and go through this process. And the password is statistics, all lowercase, rocks, all uppercase. All right, thank you for taking the time to listen through this video. I hope this helps, and good luck on the take-home quiz number 1 for this Friday. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.